It's lovely to have you on another episode of Voice Acting Coaching. My lovely guest, I'm going to have you introduce yourself, whatever name you'd like to go by, where people can find you.
My name's Mike Jaeger, and I'm really appreciative of being, you brought a British person on and you didn't ask them to play the villain, which is honestly way to go against typecast. I appreciate
Oh
that.
my god.
But everybody calls me Mikey, or I'm trying to make Mickey J happen, but
Mickey
it doesn't seem to be
J.
getting any, it's
Okay.
not getting any traction yet, so Mikey will do. And I'm sort of out there, mikejaeger.co.uk or at Mike Jaeger VA in a few places. So.
Thank you for being here. It's hilarious to me that you say I didn't typecast you as the villain, and yet you brought me a bunch of characters, and I said, what about the Butler? As if that's not the most typecast British bullshit on the planet. But I promise I won't do any bad British impressions for you. That one I'll give to you.
If we walk away today and I haven't got to get at least a sample of your general UK, I'm going to be devastated. So
Oh my god.
whenever you feel comfortable, just let it rip.
What I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you just read, not perform, the line of dialogue that we're using for the character here today. So go ahead and read it for me.
Okay. I believe that you will become the strongest champion the world has ever seen. But for now, you must master the basics.
Okay, beautiful. Now I'm going to have you tell us a little bit about the character that you created, the scene that you created for this, and then give us the 3 adjective personality traits.
Cool. So we've gone as tropey as we possibly could with the line. So this is sort of like a butler, steward, caretaker kind of character, slightly older gentleman. Definitely very prim and proper, and he knows his P's and his T's and his Q's and whichever things that prim and proper people know that I don't. He knows his forks, we'll put it that way.
Okay.
Fairly rigid, but with a sort of flowing elegance to him, maybe with a bit of a past, but right now he is serving the household of whoever the young miss or master is that he's addressing. The scene in general, the feeling is that the young miss or master has, they live at the estate, they've in some way inherited some kind of power that makes them significant and makes him believe that they will be the greatest of all time in some way. But this little kid is a little kid. So when they're told, like, hey, you got to do 100 reps, you got to do your homework, you got to put in the work to do this, they're like, oh, but do I have to? So it's encouraging this little character to, put in the work. You will be the greatest. But right now, you're just a kid and you need to go and do your homework. Our 3 words that we had were purposeful, well-mannered, and nurturing.
I always ask for 3 adjectives that are core personality traits. The way that I personally develop my characters is by using adjectives and words to describe their personality. I don't see visuals, so words are very important to me because they mean different things to my head and they help me translate both my acting and different vocal structures into characters. So I ask my guests to bring them too, even if they're not word people, so that we have a sort of basis that we can both sort of jump from. So purposeful, well-mannered, nurturing. Now I like these 3 for a couple of reasons. The first is that your concept, like you said, of someone being very prim and proper, sort of like Butler type, fits these really well. If we feel like anything isn't quite working or doesn't quite feel right, we'll go back to these core 3 and see if they line up with the core 3 that we developed. Here we go, the famous phrase, whenever you're ready, perform it for me.
I believe that you will become the strongest champion the world has ever seen. But for now, you must master the basics.
How did that feel to you? What was running through your brain? Were you focusing in on anything in particular about it?
In terms of myself, it was like a little bit of physicality.
Okay.
And in terms of the conversation, it was very much like a sit-down, close sort of thing, which again sort of reflected, rather than being like I believe that you will become, just a much smaller, more intimate, like, I'll believe that you'll become yeah.
Let's develop the person you're talking to. I think when you have someone directly that you're talking to, when you do pieces, it always makes connection easier to build and emotion easier to build. So let's develop this character in particular that you're talking to. Now, this is a young person of some kind. How long have they been under your care?
If we're the older gentleman, then probably since they're a child. So if we say that they're sort of like 12, 14, they're young. So we've probably known them for their whole life.
How involved do you think you were with this person's upbringing?
I think strongly but peripherally. So not like a father figure. but definitely present for all the big events. Sort of helping to serve the cake on each birthday, but not necessarily being the one to pass the knife.
I want you to think about, before you go into this next run of this line, what exactly your relationship is with this child. There's a reason that you're speaking the way you're speaking, you're using the words you're using, you're not talking in Gen Z, right? You're not talking the way I talk. You're very specifically using these words, these punctuations, using this manner of speaking. What exactly is this relationship, or is this exact moment that is causing you to speak the way you're speaking and not just straight up be like, yo, you'll be fine. Like, what are you talking, right? There's obviously going to be some sort of background and history that's a part of the character because we want him to be a little like more prim and proper, but we all have a shift in the way of whether in this moment we're prim and proper, and in this moment we're whenever, and in this moment wherever. So make an internal decision on why or how or what he's feeling that is causing him to speak these words and in this way. So whenever you're ready, go ahead.
I believe that you'll become the strongest champion the world has ever seen. But for now, you must master the basics.
Tell me about it. What's the thought?
So, this is not this guy's kid,
Mm-hmm.
but the guy has dedicated a chunk of his life to this family, and he feels that kind of, although he doesn't have a son or daughter, he feels that connection.
Okay.
But he's also frustrated with the fact that there's so much potential that will be squandered if there isn't the effort and energy put into like mastering whatever this craft is. So I think it's a feeling that he wouldn't necessarily feel that he's allowed to feel, and keeping prim and proper is because that's the expectation of him. But inside of him, he's like, I will absolutely, you're the boss, you do exactly what you're going to do, but you need to get this done if you're going to fulfill, like, your potential.
We've built a little bit more about him, which is he doesn't have kids of his own, and he's in this person's life. So to some way, shape, or form, this kid probably does feel like his own kid, but he knows on an intellectual level, on the level that he works for this family, it is not his child. And so there's definitely that balance of, if I was your fucking father, I'd slap you. Literally, I would slap you so hard, bro. And I really like, actually, this idea of a little bit of frustration. I want to sort of dig into making these even stronger a little bit. So there is, of course, this sort of posterity and front that he has to put on because of the position that he's in. I want to flip that on its head for a second. I think the best way that we come back to calmer characters is if we throw away the calm while we're playing with it. So I want to throw away this front that he needs to keep in the position that he's in. I want you to do this line speaking to this child with no sense of, I have a role in this family. I want emotions on the front of what you're saying. I want power. Put it to the front of what you're about to perform and take away absolutely everything about decorum, about station, about that kind of jazz, and see what gets pulled towards that front. Try not to be like, I'm gonna be angry here, I'm gonna be mysterious here, just let it come. Whenever you're ready, go ahead.
I believe you'll become the strongest champion the world has ever seen. But for now, you must master the basics.
Good. Do it again for me. Punch it even harder.
I believe you'll be the strongest champion the world's ever seen. But for now, you must master the basics.
Good. You don't need to yell as much. Punch it and go a little slower.
I believe that you'll become the strongest champion the world has ever seen. But for now, you must master the basics.
There it is. That's what I want. What emotions were coming through there while you were doing those over and over?
We definitely took the frustration to the fore. That was definitely the thing that we were like, okay. And the first couple of times, it definitely felt a little bit forced, like trying to bring anger through volume, which is not always the way to go. That third, slightly more controlled one, was definitely like, this is a man who spends 24/7 in a controlled space, but he is bubbling. So I felt that more in the third one. It's still a refined gentleman, but somebody who is like sick to the back teeth of having to deal with this day in, day out, day in, day out.
That's kind of what I was pushing to, is like in order for us to get to this controlled sense of emotions at the forefront, we have to start by forcing it and then forcing it. And then finally we're like, I know what it feels like to be in this state of yelly, forced anger and frustration. Now I know how to take that and channel it back to where this character needs to be while still having those emotions come forth. And you really, really hit on that third one, because the first one was very much me asking you to let go of the character that you had built, which was hard. I could tell it was hard. The second one was, okay, when I'm angry, I yell. And I was like, no. I like to take things away with people to force them to play. So I took away your volume and I took away your speed. I like to say that a lot of characters, when we try to do emotions like angry or sad or things like that, the reason why sometimes it's difficult to reach there is because we're going from the idea of angry is this big, large thing, or sadness is this big, scary thing. And in my opinion, a better way to reach there is if angry goes from this big, large thing to attention. Attention that is in your body, attention that is in your fists, attention that is in your throat, attention that is in your brain, your words, wherever it needs to be. So when we got to that third one, we went from this big, large angry to, okay, let's put it into tension. And the tension came out, one, physically. When you were doing it, you were very much as if you were gritting your teeth the entire time. And I was like, there it is. There's the anger. It's right here. And then because it was manifesting here for you, and I told you to slow down, all of a sudden this dialogue went from like, dude, what the fuck are you doing, to listen to me. It became less about I'm projecting it towards you and more look at me. Look at me and listen to what I have to say. I'm angry because you're not listening, not because you're messing up, because you're not hearing what I have to tell you. And it really registered at the end, because when you did the last part of you must master the basics, the beforehand, what it was happening is it was almost sort of like mushing together just a little bit, where you were hitting must hard. And that was sort of like your pause moment, where you were like, okay, I say must because that's the emphasis word, and then I say master the basics.
Then I need to like just close it up.
Exactly. Yep. But when we got to that third, and all of a sudden you had this tension here from the anger, your body literally would not let you do that. So we had this moment of like, you must, and you had to eat this sort of tea, and then you got to master, and you had to eat another one, and then you got to base 6, and you had to eat the end of that with this gritted teeth, that we now had a beautiful, like, spaced out line that was like every single word was full of this, you have to do the basics, instead of must master the basics. Did any of that feel like it was resonating with you, or do you have any commentary or thoughts on that?
No, I think that was actually a really good summary of where I was at as well. I think like yelling is a really quick shorthand. Like, be angry. It's like, okay, I'll be loud. But you're right. The sort of that kind of tense feeling, that locked like tension that you experience, I think is a better, more honest version.
Well, cool. I'm glad that it resonated a bit, but I want you to bring this energy of like, you are a little less refined, a little less what's the word they use over there? Posh? You're a little less like, bring a bit more of the street young energy to it and see where it takes you, okay? Right. Whenever you're ready, go for it.
I believe that you'll become the strongest champion the world's ever seen. But for now, you must master the basics.
Do it again. Give it actually to me faster.
I believe you'll become the strongest champion the world's ever seen. But for now, you must master the basics.
Okay, give me it a little snarkier.
I believe you'll become the strongest champion the world's ever seen. But for now, you must master the basics.
Ooh, I like that. I do think there's still like a very specific cadence or pattern in there that we're getting stuck in a little bit. Pretend that comma after now just isn't there. Whenever you're ready.
I believe that you'll become the strongest champion the world's ever seen. But for now, you must master the basics.
I'm going to give you a scene. I'm going to jump in here with you, and then I want you to respond to me with this. Nah, fuck that, dude. You don't know what you're talking about, okay? If I want to beat him, I can't be using stupid shit like this.
I believe you will become the strongest champion the world's ever seen. For now, you must master the basics.
Okay, pause. The energy that I just threw at you was hard and forceful. You don't have to come back at me with that energy, but if you're not going to bring it back, you need to do something.
Okay.
Right? So you can stop it, you can shut it down, you can throw it back, but think of some almost like if it's a physical movement. Don't necessarily have to do one, but think of in some way as if I'm chucking a ball at you, a baseball or whatever it is at 90 miles per hour at your face. You need to catch it, or you need to throw it, or you need to block it, or you need to dodge it. Whatever you need to do in that situation, respond with these words with some sort of action. Nah, fuck this, okay? I can do better than this, and he's gonna come at me with a lot stronger moves than what you're teaching me.
I believe you will become the strongest champion the world has ever seen. But for now, you must master the basics.
There it is. Okay. Beautiful, right? Because it was the second of what happened this time around is you gave yourself the chance to catch it and then do what you were going to do with it, right? We don't just like, boop, it dropped. We have to do something to stop its momentum.
Yep.
And then we can send it back. That was really powerful because you came at me where I was, but you didn't stay there. And I really, really liked that because you had this moment of like, where you were like catching it. And then you were like, but, and you sort of brought it to you as if you were in control of the ball. How did that feel doing it that time around?
It felt, again, what you were saying about like making sure that I was matching your energy going into it. I think you're right. I think in terms of making it feel cohesive, especially if we were thinking like a dub setting, you don't want it to feel like here's one line and here's another person did another line. You want to make sure that these people are in the same place at the same time.
I also think like you do it in a way that's like very subtle. Your style of like acting and voice acting has very subtle changes to it, and it's really intriguing to like listen to as a listener, also to play against, but like to listen to because it makes us focus in a bit more to what you're actually experiencing in this moment, which is a bit of why I'm doing these multiple like pushing back at you and telling you to change it or to bring more to it, because you have such a subtle way of saying things and way of feeling it that I want to make sure it's all coming across very clearly while we're listening to it. I think we do it again. I'll bring you in. I'm going to come at you with a whole different energy. Again, you're welcome to match. You're welcome to not match at all. But think of it in this idea of I'm giving you something, whether I'm throwing, I'm handing, I'm, tossing, I'm kicking it, whatever motion I'm doing, I'm going to be doing some sort of motion, and I'm sending the conversation to you, and then receive that conversation in some sort of a catch, whether it's a hug, whether it's a, ooh, it was up there, whether, a basket on the floor. You are catching it, I am sending it, okay? Look, it doesn't matter, okay? I can't fucking do it, and I'll never be able to do it. Why do you even care?
I believe you'll become the strongest champion this world has ever seen. But now you must master the basics.
Good, excellent. I'm gonna throw a new one at you. Are you ready? Okay.
I think so. Let's get it.
Whatever. We've been at this for hours, and not only do I not seem to get it, but it doesn't seem to matter, because no matter what I do, I'll never be good enough.
I believe you will become the strongest champion this world has ever seen. But for now, you must master the basics.
Beautiful. Good. One more. Are you ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Fine. You want me to do the basics so goddamn bad? Do it yourself. Let's see you do it, old man.
I believe you will become the strongest champion the world has ever seen. For now, you must master the basics.
Ooh, that's what I wanted. Okay, what did those three feel like? Like, what were you feeling or envisioning catching like?
I think it was a lot of physicality. I think that's that was the first thing. As I sort of, it was the easiest one to reference back to was when you were feeling defeated and deflated. Getting there was a relaxing of what was previously quite a tense character, and then when it was more aggressive, it was combative, it was chin forward, it was that kind of physicality to it. I think the last one felt the hardest, and I think you could hear me discovering what I was doing as I was doing it.
It managed to do what I was trying to do exercise-wise, which is push you out of this cadence just the ever tiniest bit.
And that's one of the biggest, most important things that we need in our toolkit, is being able to be flexible and to change. And it's something that I am working on continuously.
Here's what I want to do. So a little bit of what we were doing earlier, where I was saying I'm throwing something to you and you're receiving it. So psychological gestures, there's a bunch. I'm not going to go through them all. If someone ever watches this that knows what they are, hit me up. They're crazy. But basically, it's a way of putting physical movement into things that you're doing and into your body. Now, it's technically for stage acting, so it's a little bit more of putting it into a physical character. I use it for voice acting. I just don't make it so mechanical. But basically, one of the things I was doing where I was sending you something and you were catching it, that's a part of psychological gestures. So what it literally is I would say my dialogue while doing that and throwing the words at you. And you would say yours while you're catching it. It's different ways to take up space and to send your energy out. That's kind of what we're gonna do here. I won't do it quite as formal, but we're gonna throw a few of these physicalities into you saying your dialogue and into me giving you something. But I do want you to respond with some sort of physical movement when you get to your dialogue, okay? I can't fucking do this, okay?
I believe you will become the strongest champion the world has ever seen. But for now, you must master the basics.
Ooh, I love the flick at the end.
Little sassy bit at the end, yeah.
Little sassy. I like that you started by like mirroring me back and then sort of flicked it back at me. This time, don't mirror. And I want to see what comes out of you, okay? I can't do it. I'm never going to be good enough.
I believe you will become the strongest champion the world has ever seen. But for now, you must master the basics.
Okay. I saw the energy getting in there. All I'm going to say is keep it as exaggerated as you can. Try not to make it too like, no, I did the thing and I say the words. Keep it going, okay?
We open big and then I'll just continue doing what I was going to do anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. I already told you I can't do this, okay?
I believe you will become the strongest champion the world has ever seen. But for now, you must master the basics.
Ooh, I like that combination.
That was like a bit of a sassy backstep. That's, I think everything starts pretty similar and then just sass at the end. This is who this guy is now.
I love this. I love that sass has become a part of him. Okay, here's what I'm going to throw at you now. Flip it. I want the sass on the first part. See if you can give me the sass in the beginning and then come serious at the end. Exactly. Okay. That's my favorite part is when you go, oh no, that's my favorite part. Okay. Sass then serious. Here we go. You ready? Oh, please. I could do better than you in my sleep. I'd like to see you try.
I believe you'll become the strongest champion the world's ever seen. But for now, you must master the basics.
I want you to give me the way this shouldn't be done. Whatever the exact opposite of the physicality and emotion and vocal that you think would be in this piece, give me the exact opposite of it. You ready?
We're gonna find out.
Okay, I'll lead you in again. Here we go. Just teach me something better, old man, okay? I mean, what am I supposed to do? Go kick a ball with him?
I believe that you'll become the strongest champion the world's ever seen. But for now, you must master the basics.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know who he is, but we are not friends.
Whoa, how did that one feel?
That's we're never doing that one again. That one's gonna get put in a box somewhere that we can use for exercises and never try and sell.
Oh my god. Okay, we're still in a little bit of this pattern of speech. I want to try
Yes,
and
we
break it a
definitely
little
are.
more. I'm gonna ask you to punch every single word with the exact same intensity. Whenever you're ready.
I believe that you will become
No,
the
no, no, no,
strong...
no, no,
Nope.
no, 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 no,
Nope.
no.
Give it.
Mm-mm.
I put
It's
more on believe than anything
bum,
else.
bum, bum,
I
bum,
believe-
bum. Yeah,
I believe that you will but not monotone.
now monotone.
Not monotone.
You can do
Okay.
it.
Well, we'll see. I believe... We did it again. I believe that you will become the strongest champion the world has ever seen. But for now, you must master the basics.
Great, now only do it.
The must, yeah.
Only do it on articles. So that not will technically, that, the, has, anything that you're instinctually dropping because it's not an important word, those are the
Sure.
ones we're punching now.
I believe that you will become the strongest champion the world has ever seen.
Ooh, you skipped
But
Taz.
for-
Go back. You skipped Taz.
Alright. I believe that you will become the strongest champion the world has ever seen. But for now, you must master...
Not for now, but for now.
For now. Okay. Two separate words, not just the same word.
Correct.
Bundled together. I believe that you'll become the strongest champion the world has ever seen. But for now, you must master the basics.
Excellent. Do it again. Hit him harder. Go.
I believe that you will become the strongest champion the world has ever seen. Putting in more emphasis.
Yep.
Do it from the beginning. I believe that you will become the strongest champion the world has ever seen. But for now, you must master the basics.
Excellent. Even harder. Go.
I believe that you will become the strongest champion the world has ever seen. But for now, you must master the basics.
Great. Now, on every other word, I barely want to hear you. Mumble it. You don't care. I want it to be like, that's what I want.
I believe that you will become the strongest champion the world has ever seen. But for now, you must master the basics.
Excellent. Don't think about it. Just do the piece normally. Go.
I believe that you will become the strongest champion the world has ever seen. But for now, you must master the basics.
A little better. All right. We got rid of our punctuation cadence that we were having, where it was like
But
this.
we're still throwing words away, and people are paying for the entire script, not just the ones that I like.
Yes. So we got rid of this breath that we're taking after but for now. We got rid of that pause. We're always seeming to take a pause there. We got rid of it that time. That was good. We're still doing must master the basics. Try to almost take the must master as if you're kind of smushing them together, as awful as it may feel. Smush those words so that you're not dragging them out as long. Do it as character, perform it for me. Just when you go into it this time, try and see if you can keep those words short.
I believe that you'll become the strongest champion the world has ever seen. But for now, you must master the basics.
Try and make it a little tighter for me.
Yep. I believe that you'll become the strongest champion the world's ever seen. But for now, you must master the basics.
That was a little better. That was a little better. Is there anything you want to try with this character?
What if it was me? Like, what if I brought myself... How would I actually say that in a way that's believable? And I try and I fail. So I think that could be interesting.
Okay, so I'm going to say just do it. Do it. Read it right now. Go ahead.
Okay.
Be you.
I believe you'll become the strongest champion the world's ever seen. But for now, you must master the basics.
Was that you?
I think so. I threw it away a bit.
Why?
Which I
Why
think
was that
is
you?
me. It's not an affected voice. I'm not moving myself to anywhere else. And although the energy was lower, that's what I'm like in real life. I don't sort of come with like a, hey guys, I'm ready to perform. It's like a, yeah, this is kind of it. So I believe that you'll become the strongest champion the world's ever seen. But for now, you must master the basics.
What I will say is, I think it is hard to have anything be yourself because they're not your words. And that is the hardest part about acting, is they're not your words. So I would say it's never 100% going to be you. However, if we're talking vocal tone and vocal speech, yeah, from what I've seen from you today, yeah, that was you. If we're talking personality and like the way you would put yourself into the world, it's never gonna work because you're not in this context, and context changes everything on how we react.
Yep.
So I don't think you're ever gonna have a moment where it's you, besides vocally sounding like you, in which case it does. And I don't think you have an issue there. Is there anything particular when you try and do like a version that sounds like you? What feels like it's not you?
I think a lot of the time, like finding this, like, hey, I'm saying these words for the first time and I'm finding the truth in the situation. I think if I believe that you'll become the strongest, that's easier to find than you said about taking things away.
Yes.
Taking away, like, putting on a voice is the hardest building block to remove, because then it's like, oh, this is just raw acting. This is not like, here's all the voices that I've put in my toolkit. This is just the acting ability.
Yes.
And it peels away all the layers of defenses, and all we have left is like, I can't go too big because that's not me. And I can't use this voice because that's not me. So it's just what's left. And that's a scary thing to try and play with. I think it's the hardest voice to use, is the one that's just like, yeah, I'll just bring myself to work today.
I absolutely understand where you're coming from, and now I get where you're going to. You're going to the core of like what acting is. Maybe I'll have to have you back to play with that actual core, because that is something that I in my private coaching, when it's like I want to learn the acting versus some of the other stuff, that's primarily what I work on, because I think there is no greater performance than when you are there as a person. If I was gonna give you like the 3-minute spiel of like what I would suggest for getting to the core of like the acting and the emotion and I gotta take everything away, is figure out what part of being in an emotional state resonates with you naturally. So, for example, some people are visual people. If I tell you to close your eyes and to picture a beach and the sun hitting you and the smell of like burgers and sunscreen and the feeling of wind, right? If you can feel that, you can smell it, you can taste it, you can see it, you're a visual person. The way that you're gonna get to this acting core of who am I when I'm angry like this character is, who am I when I'm sad like this character is by creating that visually for you. And then you'll be there. You have to live and breathe in it. You don't just get to watch it like an audience member. You have to put yourself in it, but the visuals would then be the thing that'll take you there. So the way that I do it personally is I will physically recreate reactions that my body might have in those scenarios. So I do a lot of horror work. I play a lot of victims. It's one of my favorite things to do. The way that I get there is I have like panic attacks at certain things, and so I know physically what my body does when it goes into that state. It'll start breathing very quickly. It will start going like panting or things like that. We might shake a little. There might be some sense of like my voice goes from here to here. There's very particular physical changes that I can make to go into that immediate, this is what my body does, this is what my voice does when I'm scared. Does that make sense?
That makes sense, and it's very useful. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, I hope I didn't just ramble for like the last couple minutes.
No, that was great. That really was. I did want to say, though, thank you very much for having me. And also, I don't think that people know how much work you're putting in behind the scenes to make these sessions happen. We got presented with so many options to go through, so many different types of characters that we could use. We had a call beforehand just to see what we were comfortable with, get to know each other. We had a call like we started this session a little bit early to make sure everything was working and make sure that we were in like the right headspace. So just thank you very much, not just for today's session, but for all these coaching sessions that you're doing, because they're awesome. Thank you, Rachel.
Oh my God, thank you. None of this would be possible with all the people who joined me. Genuinely, like, I just enjoy like helping people doing voice acting and also being an entertainer and like all of these things to be able to give people insight and access and like playing back and forth. This is just kind of like something that I'm always grateful to have people enjoy themselves, and that's all I ever want. So I really appreciate that. I just think sort of building a community is like the best place to be. Yeah, like it really is lovely. And I reintroduce yourself and tell people where they can find you.
Hi, my name's Mike Jaeger. You can find me at Mike Jaeger VA in a few different places and at mikejaeger.co.uk.
Yeah! Okay, lovely. For my folks on YouTube, thank you for watching this video. Feel free, make sure you go follow Mikey, make sure you go follow us, and you maybe can get coached live on stream too, or privately, whatever you prefer. Or you can just join us in chat. We love our people in chat very, very much. We'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!